Howdy folks, moving right along with Project Revert here. I have some interior stuff coming up for you today. However, before we get into that, I wanted to fill you in on some of the things that have happened behind the scenes and not on camera. So while I was trying to get this thing fired up and running right, I realized that it's absolutely puking oil out the rear main seal. I don't mean like drops here and there. I mean like my floor is covered as I rolled this thing back and forth to try to have it running somewhat outside the shop door and everything. So it was inevitable. The transmission had to come out and I needed to get that rear main seal out. So I didn't film it because I was doing this like at the ends of my days and I just was not in the mood to be on camera at all. So my apologies, but whatever. Rear main seal is one of those things, right? It's kind of like a heater core. It takes forever. Like it's all labor just to change like a $20 part, you know? Anyway, I do have some videos. I've got one for sure on my channel on putting a seal saver and a rear main seal actually in my coupe. So I'll give you a link for that. You can check that out if you're interested. Anyway, getting the transmission out of this thing, let me tell you, like the bolts were so bloody tight from bell housing to block that like I put my neck out trying to get these things loose. I had like wrench on top of wrench, like breaker bar style, trying to bust these bolts loose. And these guys had put aftermarket hardware in there, which was too long. So the top two bell housing bolts like backed themselves right into the firewall. I had sockets stuck in there. Like it was just a rodeo. At any rate, I'll put some footage in here for you so you can kind of see a little bit of what went on. My youngest, Sadie, was here and she was supposed to be watching Netflix, but as it turns out, she was filming me a little bit. So anyway, got the rear main seal changed. I should have the leak dealt with now. I can kind of get back to like working on some of the drivability issues with this car. So anyway, that's that. My apologies if anyone was dying to see some of that footage, but I don't have any of it. I still, quite honestly, have the remnants of pulling a transmission. I got the tranny jack from my buddy's shop, still here. But today is more about interior. So what's going on here is I've got the door panels that are out of this car, which we're going to be slightly customizing down at my buddy's shop. He's gonna do some little interior twists to these. So more on that later. First things first, I do have to get these cleaned up, and then I'm gonna start laying out how this whole interior refresh is gonna go. This car is like ridiculous how much gray it has going on in it. For example, these door panels are the ones that you know, don't have the black tops to them. Like they're just gray, right? Inside, we're going to be adding some more black touches. So we're going to be dumping the gray armrests and actually going to new black ones, right? LMR's got those recreations. What a great addition that was to our community, you know? You used to have to go hunting to try to find these bloody things and paint them and whatever. So that'll be nice. Actually, well, I'll let you know a little secret here. We got some more personalization going on. I got these from an Etsy store, to which I will put the link down in the description below where you can track these down. So this is this whole 110 watts. I've told the story on the podcast. I don't know that I've shared it with you guys on YouTube or anything, but there's a really neat backstory as to like how this car came to be and why it has this theme of 110 watts, right? I even got Mr. Sinus built to make me some Ford emblem decals front and rear, right? So that's the whole theme of this car, this 110 watts. Check out the podcast if you're interested. I tell Chris the story, and quite honestly, it makes me a little misty when I do it, which is a lot of the reason that's kept me pushing on this car, because as you guys know, it's been nothing but headaches, but the end result and the end story behind this car is worth it. First things first, I got to get these panels cleaned up. Now, everybody's gonna have a little different twist on what they want to use as far as a cleaning agent. I'm using something, it's a product from Jack's Wax, okay? They're not paying me to use this, I just own it because it works quite well. So it's a citrus-based cleaner. I'm gonna hose this panel down. Well, I'll do, here, come along for the ride. Let's hose her down. And I'm going to hit this with a toothbrush, and then I'm going to finish it off with just a little cleanup with some water. Essentially, we're just trying to get the years and years of junk out of this thing, right? Now, speaker grills are always drastic, right? These things hold all kinds of dirt. You can see it coming out there, right? Okay, so we're scrubbed and not wiped. Look at the junk that comes out of these, right? So, look at that. It's crazy. I mean, even if you're not restoring your door panels, just pulling them off and giving them a good once over like this just works absolute wonders to bring back somewhat of the original color of your interior, right? Look at this junk. Just, it sits in the fibers of this pleather, right? Yeah, look at that. They didn't look too bad, right, at first blush, but when you give them a good scrub down like this, they really come to life again. We are scuffed, buffed, and masked. And now, before anybody goes putting me on blast in the comments about, don't you know those speaker grills are removable? Yes, I'm well aware of that. Changed many of them in my day. The backing, the cardboard backing on these panels is in relatively good shape. I just don't want to open up a whole can of worms by damaging any of that. So I've opted to paint these speaker grills on the panel. That being said, I have scuffed them with some medium strength, medium grade synthetic steel wool. I have here 2 of the 3 products I'm going to use. I just wanted to put this primer up there so everybody knew it was available. The thing about the primer, and actually the synthetic steel wool, you need to be careful if you want to maintain that OEM grain that this plastic comes with. The more you scuff, the more you lose it. So there's a really fine line between just enough scuffing and too much. If you are using the primer, very light, okay, because obviously you got to put paint on top of that. The more you put on these panels, the less of that grain you're going to see. This is LMR's version of like SEM Landau Black, and then SEM's Vinyl Prep. Good stuff. It's kind of like an alcohol wipe. It also softens things up just to give you like really good adhesion. And then over here, I've got the guts of the glove box. I'm just gonna give that a quick dusting to get rid of, you know, any of the scuffs and whatever that this thing's taken over the years. These are obviously a part of the car that is going to get like marked up. So anyway, I just freshened it up just because. And then I've got the armrest caps here. These are the OEM caps. Now, I have LMR's recreation of black armrests here, and unless I missed something when ordering these, I cannot find black caps. Like, I figured these would have came with black caps, right? But they didn't. So anyway, we're gonna paint these gray ones. So I don't think I'm gonna bore you with the paint job here, folks. Light coats, right? Flash in between, and then, well, over here, I've got just an endless mess of gray items that we need to then swap over to painting. I don't know if I want to bore you with all that, ladies and gents. I mean, that's a whole lot of boring scuffing, buffing, and painting. But anyway, just to let you know, so we got lots of freshening up going on here. I wasn't sure if I was gonna have to paint this black section of the console, because for any of you that caught my previous videos, we do have 417 Fox's radio heater relocation kit, and I believe that kit comes right up and over top of that little black section there and kind of meets the shifter bezel. So that's why this piece isn't over there. I don't think we need to bother with that, but this thing's going to get the whole gray treatment, so freshen up there. I guess the nice part about running 417 Fox's kit is you don't have to go to all the trouble of masking and doing, like, if anyone out there has ever gone to the lengths of refinishing one of these consoles, you know what I'm talking about. It's a pain in the ass to get this line tight and get your whatever your interior color is, and then get your black on there, whatever. So I'm actually looking forward to not having to do that. Anyway, so all this stuff's gonna get freshened up as well. And then I think, well, we gotta start putting the stereo in it too. So we'll see how this all goes. Maybe we'll get some stereo stuff towards the end of this video as well. First coat's down. Just wanted to give everybody a bit of an example of like how light these coats should be. You really want to just dust them, okay, and let the paint do what it's designed to do. Give it that flash. Now, I did forget to mention this earlier, folks, I'm sorry, but if you want to know a little trick to getting speaker grills painted, because you know, obviously you got to get like all kinds of intricate angles here, and you don't want to be laying down all kinds of color and losing your grain. Come at them from the backside first, okay, and like spray up, spray down, you know, like do the whole deal and get your first couple coats from the backside, and then that will allow you to not have to splash so many coats on the top side. Okay, so just a little trick of the trade. You know, you got to take into account lots of different angles here. I can actually see I'm a little light in here, but just take your time, okay? Extra clean, take your time. Don't be laying the color on too thick, and everything will turn out lovely. All right, we got the black done. Turned out pretty good. Now keep in mind, I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but we're gonna have like a black section here through the mat pocket. Obviously the black armrest and everything. And then we're gonna be doing some black through here too. So more to come on that. The glove box, yeah, freshened up pretty nice. And we got our caps all done. Now we are all buffed out on the 50 Shades of Gray and gonna start laying down some color on these. Now, I'm just trying to figure out here, obviously this console needs to be doctored up as well. However, I do need to make some alterations to this center console for the 417 Fox upgrade, and I have not done one of these. It's sitting there in that bag. I haven't installed one yet. So I don't think I'm gonna paint this yet. What I think I'll do is I'll start laying down some color on these light coats, and as I'm doing those coats, I'll come back and start working away on this 417 Fox install. Okay, folks, I am way past bedtime, running out of daylight. It is 5 to 12. So I think what we're gonna do is park where we're currently at here and revisit tomorrow. If I start getting into this 417 Fox radio relocate, Lord knows how long I'm going to be here. I just popped over to the passenger side of this car, and you know, if you guys have caught any of my other videos, which I say a lot of, you'd know that I have an absolute rat's nest worth of wiring to figure out here. Now, it's not the end of the world, okay? It just means that the stock radio harnesses have been cut off. We're going to be consulting the old EVTM, right? Very valuable book. If you don't have one of these for your car, I highly recommend it. We're not going to be using any of these speaker wires, so I can probably just cut all this junk off of here and tidy it up, tape it up, and tuck it away. But we do need, you know, power, accessory, ground, all that good stuff for this new head unit. And I've also got to relocate the heater controls down here, so that's not the end of the world. Pretty easy, straightforward there. Give you a quick look at some of the bits and pieces. We are now one shade of gray, no longer 50 shades of gray, so that's good. Anyway, folks, see you in the morning. Hi, folks. Okay, day 2. I was going to give you a quick update on the painting here because I was actually, if I'm being honest, I was taking a chance last night with a can of paint that I was like, man, I pulled it out of my cabinet. I was like, I know this is close to this like 92. I always get these grays mixed up, right? Like smoke gray or whatever they call the 92 gray. It's a weird one that's got like some beige in it. And I'm like, I think this can's close. So before I show you guys this stuff, just for example, right? So here she is. SEM, medium graphite they call it. But you know, like for all intents and purposes, one could make a pretty decent argument that that cap, which resembles the color, has some beige in it. Well, I got the proper stuff here. Came overnight to me. Look at the difference, right? And so it wasn't until I laid down all this color, and now granted I was painting like charcoal grade pieces, like I was going from all kinds of shades of gray. This medium graphite like brought it up to the color that I'm ultimately trying to land on. But yeah, it wasn't until I threw it up against the console and everything that I was like, yeah, this medium graphite's all wrong. So I'll overlay some photos here that I was taking while I was laying the color down. Like, you could probably BS your way through it if you had the medium graphite. Like, quite honestly, it's pretty close, but it's not like bang on. So anyway, here is the progress report on all the pieces that now have that beigey gray. And it's interesting to see them in like brand new painted format like this, because I don't know, for anyone out there that's got one of these 92 gray interiors, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like, you see it and you go, holy smokes, like there's a ton of beige in it, you know? But it's not until you throw it up against another gray that you really, really notice it. So anyway, we got all that color laid down. Oh, I forgot about the old column. Got a new one of those, so I just splashed it with a little black to freshen it up. Right, so got the heater controls out here, and we now need to, well, definitely do some trimming on the heater controls. So there's these two, sorry folks, I don't know any other way to say it, tits, nipples. So we gotta buzz these off so that this heater control will lay flat in here. And then, try to show you here, we gotta line this guy up. So there are some measurements that 417 Fox supplies to get this kind of centered in the bezel, but I don't know, I'm gonna get these tabs buzzed off, and then I'm gonna just kind of, I don't know, maybe eyeball it a little bit, like obviously measure a bunch of times and make sure I get it like right where I want it, because I really don't want to screw up those holes, even though this is one of the consoles that, sad to say, but she had one of those aftermarket stereo beauty plates drilled into her. I hate seeing those damn things, but oh well. So gonna buzz these tits off and then we'll start measuring up, drilling some holes, getting this thing mounted. Okay, so we're buzzed down, and I actually did some, I kind of mooched the edges of these out a little bit with just a flat disc grinder, because it is a little wide. It gets kind of, whatever, just a little tight in there. So now we're good and not going anywhere. So there it is. Now what I'm gonna do is the old console trick here. So see where this guy's gonna be situated. Straight, flat, level, even, right? So, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, probably not. Yeah, so this does, the heater HVAC control does not sit right at the bottom. It's gonna sit up slightly. And there is a measurement that Michael mentions in his video. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I don't think I'm gonna horse around looking for it. I'm just gonna get myself, you know, so my dial's even between the bezel, and mark it and go. All right, I got a screw in there. I'm actually using my own screws. I don't know if this kit's designed to be honest with you, I'm not following instructions all that well. Michael does a good job, but I'm just kind of whatever, in the zone and doing my thing. So anyway, I've got one screw in there, sort of holding this thing where I want it. And yeah, I think overall, we're looking pretty good. All right, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Right. All right, for the next cut, the old Sawzall's coming out, fine tooth, fresh metal bit, and I'm just gonna kind of buzz this right in line with where this was trimmed out before. Well, I guess while we're in the mood for cutting, we may as well buzz the dash out here too. So I just threw the center console in here quick to get an idea of what we needed to cut, and it looks to be like we're just going to carry on this cut straight down here. So I'll get that buzzed out, and then I think we can start situating the radio in there, because it's ultimately going to utilize these 4 screws and those speed nuts that the HVAC controls used to use. All right, now this portion of the install involves mounting these supplied mounting brackets from 417 Fox. So depending on what type of radio you're rocking here, these are going to go on the outside, you know, something to this effect. Every head unit's going to be a little different, right? Depending on how you want these holes to line up. So I got this brand new head unit, comes with some screws. So I'm going to go ahead and mount these guys up. We'll get this thing in the car and see how it all lines up. Here's a look at the, well, roughly fit in their product. So very rough. I just wanted to make sure that I had these brackets in the right place on the radio. Michael 417 Fox there gives you lots of options for mounting them high, mounting them low. I guess it's just gives you options for various radios and stuff, but I pretty much nailed it first go. Now, the only thing to keep in mind here is he supplies you with these standoff, you know, just some plastic stock that you put in behind these supplied screws. So if you look in behind there, you can see I've got the 2 top ones in there just to kind of rough it in, and then I don't have the bottom 2 in there because I'm not officially mounting this thing right now. I just wanted to see how everything lined up before I go and paint this center console. So I think we're, you know, ultimately in pretty good shape. Like everything, I think with some fine tuning, everything's going to line up beautifully. Well, folks, on that note, I think I'm going to wrap this one. I mean, the only component of this install that I've left out is there's some Velcro that ultimately holds that 417 Fox Beauty plate in place. Pretty self-explanatory. Peel the tape off the back, Velcro yourself in there, and you're good to go. Now, the rest of this whole interior restoration is relatively boring. It's just a matter of, well, putting some of the bits and pieces back together, like glove box and what have you. But this stuff is not actually going to go in the car right here, right now. I've got to install the stereo. And now, I thought long and hard about doing a video on that, but I mean, I don't know. Does anybody even mess around with this stuff anymore? I mean, maybe you do, but if you do, you probably know what you're doing, right? Power, ground, speaker wire, RCAs, all that fun stuff. So I think what I'm going to do here, just to, I guess, let you know what you're probably going to run yourselves into next time you see me, is I'm going to paint that console. I'm going to start putting the interior bits and pieces like back together, but not in the car. And I'm going to get after starting to run this stereo. And then, I don't know, maybe I'll take you along for the ride as I start putting the interior back together, something to that effect. The other video that I have coming up for you is we're going to be installing those Recaros. So stick around for that. But anyway, on this note, there's an interior restoration for you. Well, I guess probably 50-60% interior restoration, right? And we'll leave this one here. So thanks so much for tagging along, ladies and gents. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you think this video would help somebody out there, please share it along. That's why I do these videos, to try and give back and help the community. So thanks so much for tagging along, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye for now.